Okay.
All right.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Hello, John.
Hi, Roberto.
How are you?
Good.
A nice morning today here
Very
in Madrid.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that in our last interview, I forget to ask you some things about digital processing.
Yeah.
And about plugins. That I think that it is very interesting for people to know how classical recorders usually process their recordings. So in this step, may I in brief take our last interview. You said that you when you record classical, you put maybe 30 for 35s microphones, but then you only get the signal from 8 or 10
Yeah, very
microphones.
few. Yeah.
Okay, so my first question is, you are specialized at classical recorded music, or you also record dialogues and effects for music?
No, really just the music. Yeah.
Just only the music for the films and for the video games.
Yes, exactly.
Only the classic.
Yeah.
So your sessions in Pro Tools
Yes.
has only 8 or 10 tracks.
No, well, it has all the mics. It has maybe 32, 34 mics.
Because you record all.
All of them. Yeah, you
Okay.
record all of them. And then in the mix, or either the live mix or a remix afterwards, I choose much less, like I said, 8 or 10. But they're all there. And sometimes you could use like 8 or 10 microphones, and then you need one of the other ones just for a little solo or something.
Yeah, to support.
Yes, to support. But
Okay.
it's there just in case.
Okay, this was my first question.
Yeah.
And then I want to know about digital processing, because you said to me that you work in the box.
Yes.
The digital processing that it is usually used in classical recordings. What could you tell us about that?
Well, not too much. There's not too much processing, really. You try to, if it's a serious classical recording, not too much processing. The only thing is the dynamic range, and not letting it get too quiet and too loud. So I have to, and that can sometimes be done by hand on the fader, to control it. But in terms of limiting, there's not too much, very subtle.
No compression? And
a little, yes, sometimes just a little bit.
And the purpose is to control the dynamic?
Yes, not to. I mean, the thing is, when we were recording on tape, the tape did
the compression. Yeah.
It did that. So you're just trying to simulate what the tape used to do, because sometimes the dynamics can be too much for even a digital recording. And you have to decide how much you want to contain it.
Yes. Yeah. And other process like equalizers. Again,
if you use an equalizer, the most common use really of equalizer is high pass filter, just to stop too much rumble and coming through. Because with ambient miking on orchestra, you have a lot of amplification and can sometimes have too much extreme lows. So the most common use of EQ is a high pass filter. And if there's any like tonal change, like adding mids or highs, it's very little. It's like 1 dB or 2 dBs at the most.
Yeah.
Not too much.
Yeah, and other process like reverberation.
If it's just classical, I tend to use a lexicon. Nothing. One of the things I like about the lexicon, I use a lexicon PCM, is it's very subtle. and it doesn't have too much of its own sound. So you just need a little bit of support. It's very support, but sometimes, you know, if you're working in a good studio or a good location, you don't need any reverberation.
Yeah, because you capture the
Yes.
reverberation with
Exactly.
other microphones.
Yes, exactly.
So you use microphones to capture the reverberation.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and the Lexicon PCM is the rack unit or the plugin?
The plugin.
Okay. And which are your favorites plugins?
Of reverb.
In general.
Well, I like, if we're talking about just pure classical recording, I'd say the Lexicon is my favorite. And I guess I only use sometimes none of it, sometimes just a little bit. But then, you know, I'm doing other things, you know, because that was doing my classical, but if we're talking about films or video games, you sometimes need more. And I really like the Valhalla products. You know, the Valhalla Shimmer is very good for film and for video game, for special effects. It's a really beautiful effect. And so I use the Valhalla Shimmer quite a lot. And then having worked with the Shimmer, I got to use some of the other Valhalla things like their plate and vintage reverb, and I like that. One of the things that I found with plugins, and I'm not talking about classical now, I'm talking about more contemporary music, is I find it doesn't really need to be very good. You know, sometimes, you know, like if you want an effect and you get a plugin that's just not that great, but it's very cheap, and it just has a great sound. So, you know, things like the Valhalla, which is very cheap, they sound great. I'm not too much into convolution reverbs, really.
No?
Not really. I don't really agree really with the principle of the way that the sounds are sampled. And I'm a little bit critical. I feel that a lot of the convolution reverbs, I'm not talking about any one particular one, but it's the power of auto-suggestion, that you look at a photograph of this space.
Yeah.
You know, like you look at a pyramid.
Yeah, but the convolutional reverbs are maybe the most similar to the hall or to the stadium or whatever.
Yeah,
the theory said that.
The theory.
Yeah.
The theory of it. But I'm not totally convinced by it. And I think that it's a controversial view, but I think that if you had a convolution reverb with no photographs, no images, just a plugin that said on and on, and no name, you know, like number 1, number 2, number 3, would you necessarily think that number 1 is a pyramid and number 2 is a train station and number 3 is a tunnel? I'm not sure. That's the thing with a lot of the plugins. The visuals are very suggestive.
And are very important because they spend a lot of money and time to get a good view.
Yes.
To sell it.
Yes.
It's part of the business.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you go back, like talking about EQ, that I remember there was George Massenburg EQ, and the visual interface was like nothing. It was very simple, just a few knobs. No, I think the early one I think was just like black and white.
Yeah.
You know, and I like that.
Yeah, I also prefer the more simpler systems as I could get.
Yeah.
Because if you have a lot of parameters, you can go crazy and you can touch a sculpture, the sound very fine, and sometimes it is worse because you are getting crazy, and if you are obsessive, you are
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the newer ones I really like, EQ, is the Fab filter, and that is actually I feel that is where the visual side is really useful, because it gives you the image of the waveform, and if you're doing something to find a particular problem, it's really good to be able to see that. So I like that. I think what I was really talking about, the imagery, is just the photographs of places.
Yeah. And about your personal equipment that you use or that you have at your home, and I think that you get with that equipment to other sites to record. What are your personal equipments that you own?
My plugins.
Your plugins or preamps or microphones.
Right. Well, my
or do you rent them?
No. All my my personal preamps are all Avalons. I've got, I think, about 12 channels.
The Avalon, the 737 or what?
3 of those.
What?
Yeah. Three of those.
3 of those.
And 2022s.
Okay.
Yeah.
They are very clean.
Yeah. So I have those. I also actually have a hardware Lexicon 960. And I have a lot of microphones. I like to collect microphones.
But you have that equipment in your home.
Yes.
And you go with another sites with equipment and
exactly.
And the Millennium preamps?
I don't know. No, I like to use those when the studios have them, but I don't.
You don't have.
Yeah.
And what
the ones I have are the Avalons.
What do you think about the eternal war about the Avalon 737? That somebody says that it is amazing, and other people say that this is very bad.
I think I don't use it that much. I've had it for a long time. It's very coloured, very coloured, and like I said in the other interview, you either like the colour or you don't. And also, as I said, I don't know that not everything needs to sound very good. Sometimes, if it's very coloured and you think, well, this doesn't sound anything like the signal that I'm putting in, it's changing it too much, but maybe you want it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so also. Yeah. And about the converters, you use the DAD from the AVI DAD?
Yeah, I think the only time I really liked it was when it went to HDX, the new ones. When it was the 192 boxes, I wasn't too crazy about it, and in those times I was using Prism converters. I can't remember the number, but since
the
Prism, yeah. And I still like that, but I think that now, since Avid are doing HDX, it sounds pretty good at high sample rate.
And you own your personal Pro Tools at your home, because you have a personal studio when you...
Yeah, it's very small, but I do only like little things at home. If it's a big project, I like to go to
in other big studio.
Yes, but you know, sometimes you just need to do some preparation at home, or you know, a small mix, or repair something. Just, you know, I could do a mix in a big studio, and then if we need to do a correction, I say, oh, I'll correct it at home.
You get the work to your home.
Yeah.
Okay. And my last question is about funny situations that happens to you in your life, or sound engineer. Could you tell us something about that?
Yeah, one of the funniest memories I have was back in the 1980s, like maybe 82 or 83, and I was doing a session with a big orchestra, at Abbey Road, a session with an orchestra, with the RPO, the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, and Ozzy Osbourne was singing, and he was singing live with the orchestra, and he had just been very famous about 1 week before, because he did a concert where he was like biting the heads off chickens or bats.
Bats. I think that's bats. Yeah.
And the idea that he came in and he sang with this classical orchestra was something that I'll never forget.
Another question is about how long does it take to you to mix a recording?
Right. Well, generally I say that I like to mix very fast and not spend a lot of time on it, because I feel that the more time you hear the same thing over and over again, it's more difficult and sometimes impossible to be objective about it. So I could say that I mix everything really fast, but that's not really true, because I'll often mix something 2 or 3 times or 4 times. So, you know, I might spend like 20 minutes or half an hour and do something very quickly, and then do something else, and then come back to that, and then do something else, and maybe it's like nothing's finished until it's finished.
Yeah.
But I don't I feel like if I'm playing the same track for more than an hour, then I don't really have any confidence that I'm going to like that mix. So I might just do half an hour on it, then do something else, and then return to it. And I really think that it's better to spend maybe 2 or 3 short times on something than labor over something.
So you change from different songs?
Yes.
And you get back?
Yes. Maybe even 3 or 4 times.
Oh, okay.
And especially, you know, like with a score, with a lot of pieces of music, you know, I would like very often, let's say I'm doing something with 20 cues, and so I do 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4, and then by 5, number 5, I think, okay, now it's beginning to work. So I just keep going. I go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20. And then I do 1 at the end. I come back and I repeat the first ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I do that all the time.
And when do you think that you have finished to mixing? Where is the point?
That's a good question. It's usually time and budget, you know, and sometimes you just get the feeling this is okay. You know, I'm not going to touch it anymore.
Okay.
But particularly, as I said, if you do something like quite quickly, and then you move on, and then you come back, when you come back to it, you can tell immediately, yes or no. It's so much easier.
Okay.
Good.
So thank you very much, John.
You're welcome.
I think that I have a very good 2 interviews.
Good.
And I think that I have a complete image from your from your way of mixing and recording. So I think that people will be happy because you give us a lot of information.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you very much. I hope for you to spend good days here in Spain.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe we will see in other time because we have same friends and
absolutely.
And this is very good for me.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Okay, nice to meet you.
Me too.